So the other day, I found myself reading articles online and blogs and news when I came across what I could only assume was the post of a very disappointed fan. And this person was a driver for a company that drove luxury cars for celebrities and rich people. And this person one day, went to his job to pick up somebody from the airport. And when he realized who that someone was his long life, the person that he admired as an artist. And he was a huge fan of this person, which shall remain unnamed. And the person entered the car, and the driver couldn't contain his excitement, and he tried to pick up a conversation with this person just to talk to his idol, basically. And he couldn't but notice that the artist was completely dismissing him and ignoring him. uh, from time to time, he would do faces thinking that the driver wasn't seeing him, faces of annoyance, when all of a sudden the only words that the driver could get out of this artist was the words whatever. He was explaining how much he admired him and he loved the music, and the artist just said whatever and kept doing what he was doing. And of course the person was extremely disappointed. He wrote about it, but all of this story just got me thinking about, we humans tend to put our trust and our confidence in people, in politicians, in artists. Like, they get our admiration, they get our respect to some degree, our confidence, our vote. And then what ends up happening is that these people that we thought we could trust or that we admire for so long, we realize that they're flawed people. They lie, they cheat, they deceive, they sometimes let us down. And of course, it's human nature, if you look at history, for humans to put their trust and admiration and vote and confidence in other people. But as history has shown us, is that we don't learn from history. People are flawed, people disappoint. So the question then remains, or the question is really, who should we be putting our trust and confidence in? Could it be that we shouldn't necessarily be putting our trust on people, but on someone else? Well, let's talk about this in today's episode of Upside Down Talks with Never Far Enough. So I don't know if you noticed, but in the past few days, I haven't really posted anything on the podcast, nor on any of the Never Far Enough channels, and that's because we've been on vacation. Me and my wife recently went to the UK, and from UK we went to Europe. But we spent some time in London, and London definitely a beautiful city, lots of things to do and things to see. And one thing that we knew we wanted to do is we wanted to go to a palace, to a castle. So of course we went to the Buckingham Palace, but some of the tourists that we met during our trip, they were from Australia, very, very nice people. They asked us, or they told us, that we should totally see the Windsor Castle, that we would be mind blown when we entered the castle. So we took them on their word and bought the tickets online when we were in London, and took the train to go to the little town where the Windsor Castle is. Very beautiful town, very old, antique. But once you get to the town, obviously you can't but notice that the castle is definitely the main attraction, the palace. It's very beautiful, huge, very big. It takes like most of the town. And you can definitely tell the difference between the architecture and the construction of the town versus that of the castle itself. Very important people live there. So when we entered the castle, when we entered the palace, we started seeing the rooms, and it was, of course, immensely beautiful. I don't think words can describe it. It was, very, very luxurious. Everything was super sized. When you walk into the rooms, you feel like you're very small. I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall, and I felt like an ant in there. Like the roof were like so high up, so much gold and so much fancy wood and fancy architecture. The carpets were just very, they covered the entire room. The dining table could accommodate like 100 people, or if not more. Everything's just super size, super big. And when I was in there, to be perfectly honest, I felt I didn't feel happy, or I didn't feel admiration for what humans could build. I actually felt bad. I felt bad because we're talking, this is property of a dynasty, of a family, a very wealthy family, powerful family in England. And, when you look at history and how wars went and the poverty in these countries and how things used to work amongst the classes, and how basically the people that own this palace, this castle, they were living it. They were living the dream inside, while the people on the outside obviously weren't living it as much. And it got me thinking about Israel and God, and how God never intended for Israel to have kings or queens. God wanted to be the king. God wanted to lead Israel, and the plan of God was that everybody was, at the same level with God as their, as their God, as their king, as their superior. But the people of Israel they wanted a king. They wanted to have a visible person that they feel they could, talk to directly, that could solve their problems. And they put the trust, and they created, I guess, the position of king in Israel. The first king of Israel was Saul. And we all know how that story went. Saul obviously was a human. He eventually sinned against God. He became terribly flawed. He disappointed a lot of people, hurted a lot of people. And just the introduction of a king just basically destroyed, in some sense, God's plan to be the king and to have everybody, treat everybody at the same level. With the introduction of kings came the introduction of division of classes, and some people that unavoidably feel that they're above others, when that should never be the case. So when I was inside the Windsor Castle, those were the thoughts that were flowing through my mind. Thoughts about how misconstrued people had believed that the people that they were putting into these castles, that they were putting their trust in, was really failing them. They were living it inside their big castle walls, while the people on the outside, starve, suffer, were poor. And how corrupt the society is as a whole, how corrupt we are as humans. And I remember reading a quote not too long ago. I can't remember if I read it or if I heard it in a blog, but it said that nobody, I'm paraphrasing, it said that nobody really likes power until they have it. And then once they have it, power corrupts, just like money. Money indirectly gives power, and power corrupts, which is, what I believe those phrases came to be in the first place. So power corrupts, money corrupts, and that's just the way it has been since the inception of the concept of power in humanity. When people have power, people abuse it, and they abuse it because we are naturally selfish beings. And as selfish beings, we just think about ourselves. We think about what's good for us, and when we have power combined to the desire or the ability to be selfish and think about ourselves, that unavoidably makes humans prone to corruption and prone to disappoint others. In the Bible, it says in Jeremiah 29, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and go and pray to me, and I will listen to you. And you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart." Again, this is Jeremiah 29, verses 11 to 13. So you may be asking, why did I just read this random Bible text? And it's not really a random Bible text. I guess the explanation is pretty straightforward. in a world where we put our trust and our confidence in people that are prone to disappoint us because it's in their nature to be selfish and think about themselves, there's only one person, one being in the whole universe that we can put our trust in and know that we won't ever be disappointed or deceived. And that, my friend, is God.